Hello and welcome to Salute. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and today we have the privilege of having a Vietnam veteran, John Thomastatter, United States Army. What years were you there?
I was in Vietnam in 1967 and 68.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about your experiences in Vietnam and being in the Army, but then we have a very strong message we want to get out about this project here, the virtual wall for Washington, D.C., which you're kind of spearheading down here, right?
Right.
Okay, well, let's hear a little bit about you're from Pennsylvania, right?
Right. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I'm from Johnstown, which is known as the Flood City.
That's not a very good name.
No, it isn't. But after high school, I went to Penn State, got my associate degree in electronics, and was working down in St. Louis for McDonnell Aircraft, writing maintenance manuals on the F-4 Phantom when I got my notice to take my physical. Well, like everyone else, I went out, took my physical. When I passed my physical, so I figured that sooner or later I was going to be drafted, so I looked to see what my options were. I looked into the Army. The other services were requiring longer term of duty. So the Army would be a 3-year service. And I found a school that looked like it was almost a year. So I enlisted in the Army figuring I'd get a year of schooling out of this and it'd be beneficial. Went through basic training at Fort Benning, like a lot of other guys. Then went on to advanced training, which involved going to Huntsville, Alabama, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. After I got out of basic training, I found out that the school that I was going to go to originally was supposed to be 52 weeks, but because they had such a high dropout rate, they cut the class down to 26 weeks. So I went to the school, got my MOS. It was nuclear weapons electronics, and it was unusual. 2 of us in our class were sent to Vietnam. So my first experience in Vietnam came into Cam Ranh Bay the night before Thanksgiving. So I had KP in a replacement center in Cam Ranh Bay.
Wow.
That was an experience.
Yeah, that's not a very nice welcome home, welcome here, you know.
Right, yeah. So from there I went on to, we were sent to Chu Lai, right near the shoreline. There was an artillery unit. Again, we got there, they weren't sure what to do with us because of our MOS. So they had us doing a variety of tasks there for about a couple of months. During that time, was able to see the Bob Hope show for Christmas that year. And then later on, they said, well, let's send these 2 guys down to the Saigon area. Maybe they can know where to put these guys to use. So again, we turned in all our weapons and gear and flew on down to Saigon. And we got in late in the one evening in Saigon. And the people there told us, well, there's no transportation out to Bearcat. That was where we were supposed to be going next. Our assignment was Bearcat. They said, just sort of hang around here till tomorrow morning and we'll see if we can find you a transportation out to Bearcat. So there was a civilian there that heard our dilemma, and he says, hey, I'm going out to Bearcat. You guys want to ride? So we said, oh, yeah, well, that'd be great. So we hop in the Jeep. Again, we didn't have any weapons. The civilian had an M14 in the vehicle, but there were no rounds in the chamber, so we were relatively disarmed.
Yeah.
And so we go out to Bearcat. We get to the replacement center up there, and we find out all hell was breaking loose. This was the Tet Offensive. So we just got through Saigon right before the Tet Offensive.
Wow.
Okay, from there, we were in the replacement center for a while, a couple of days, and then we were sent to a maintenance company. I eventually ended up down in the delta below Saigon on Highway 4, a city called Ben Luck. And we had a maintenance company about half the size of a football field surrounded by concertina wire. There was one way in and one way out. In the evening, they would put a barricade up there, a barbed wire barricade for protection. So at that time, again, no nuclear weapons, so I was cross-trained to do RT-524 radio repair. That's the radios that are in the back of the Jeeps.
Yeah.
So because I was trained to, troubleshoot down to the component level, most of the radio repair guys there were trained to troubleshoot to the modular level. They would replace electronic modules. So I worked on that for a while, but because of all the other activities going on, we only worked in radio repair about 2 hours a day because they would shut down the generators for maintenance during right around noontime. And of course you had your other duties. You had your KP and guard duty. So you weren't doing a lot of work in your MOS. So after a while, I guess I got cabin fever. They were looking for somebody to, do the courier route from our location through Saigon to Bearcat. So I would do the courier route. We'd pick up the mail, the outgoing mail, which would be, like the morning reports and any other company reports, and the personal mail going out from the soldiers stationed there. And then it would be my duty to get the mail up to Bearcat and pick up the return mail. And I was always conscientious about getting back because I would be bringing the mail back for the soldiers, and everybody. That was our main way of communication. We didn't have cell phones or other ways.
Yeah. I had a young guy on the show. He was over in Afghanistan. He was telling me how they had the cell phone and they could actually see his family back home. They get a certain amount of time. And I was thinking back when we were in, it didn't happen. You were lucky if you got a newspaper or a letter from home. And if you were real lucky, you got a box of cookies,
Right.
You were very popular.
But anyway, so that was what I did for a while. And of course, we had people transitioning out because of DEROs. Everybody had a date return to the United States. You were there for a year tour of duty. So after being a courier for a while, the company clerk was leaving, and I had some skills to do typing and reporting, and they asked me to take over as the company clerk, which I then did. And one of the big projects that I had, every morning you would do a morning report. You had to, keep track of your manpower because this was very critical. So, and if you made a mistake on your morning report, your officer, commanding officer, wouldn't be very happy. So it was my job to keep all our administrative records straight. And because of my efforts, I was able to get a promotion to Spec 5 before I left Vietnam, and left there and went to Fort Benning to finish my tour of duty. I was able to get an early out from the military to go back to college. I got out of it a couple of months early, went back to Penn State, and got my 4-year degree in business.
So you got out, what years did you get out?
It would have been the end of 68.
68 is when you got out of the...
Yeah, it was I guess around December of 68.
Wow. I find it hard to believe that they gave an early release, because those were the big years.
I guess maybe that was 69. I'm sorry, maybe 69, because I would have been I was in Vietnam to I guess around Thanksgiving of 68, so it would have been 69, yeah.
Okay. And you got a career doing what?
Well, my career was mainly in aerospace. I worked for a helicopter company, which is MBB, which is Messerschmitt Bölkow Blohm, a German helicopter company, which had offices in Pennsylvania. We sold medical helicopters, and I was responsible for the computer network. And our computer network managed the spares inventory. It was an integrated business package, so we had accounts receivable, accounts payable. We took care of the publication revisions that went out to the customers, things like that. And I also from there I transitioned back to my hometown in Johnstown. About 10 years before I retired, I was working for Concurrent Technologies Corporation, a defense contractor. And I had various projects there. that I
So
was
did you
working-
retire from there?
Right.
And then what brought you to the Villages?
Well, my better half, I met my better half. She was from Bellwood. I'm originally, again, from Johnstown, and met my wife while I was going to school for my 4-year degree, but was divorced after a few years. And anyway, so I met my current better half at that point while I was back in Johnstown, and we decided to look around for a retirement place. And we thought, well, this would be great to come down to Florida because we don't have to shovel snow down here.
Yeah. A lot of people think that way, myself included.
Yeah.
So you're retired now, you're in the Villages, and you hear about Chapter 1036, right?
Right. Yeah. I've been here for about a little over 5 years, and when I first came down here, I went to one of the meetings and learned about some of the things they were doing, and they asked if anybody would like to volunteer to help with the chapter newsletter. Well, again, because of my technical writing background and experience with computers, I said, oh, let me see if I can help out with this. So I started to work with our guys, worked on the newsletter for a while, and ended up as the chapter secretary, and currently I'm on the board of directors. But
That's good. Great.
Getting back to how I got into the Wall of Faces project
Well, that's where I want to go. And now we got you here in Florida, right? You became a member of Chapter 1036. I'm a member, but I'm not active at all. I got enough stuff going on, But anyway, I know it's a great chapter, and I know they do a lot of great stuff. And then this is one of the things that I really think is special that they're doing. And tell the people a little bit about what this is and what you're doing about it.
Okay, well, again, when I was working on the newsletter, I'm looking for a lot of stories for fillers, and I found out it was about, I guess, February of 2016 when I found a story in the Web Weekly news from the National. They said that there was a story about the Wall of Faces project, which the Wall of Faces project is a project to find a picture for every name on the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. There's 58,200 some names of soldiers who died in Vietnam whose names are on the wall. So I thought, oh, this is a great story for the newsletter. So I said, I'm going to follow up and find out how many people were missing from Florida. Now, keep in mind that this search had been going on for almost a decade, I guess around, I believe, 2009 when it started. So I found out that there are 778 pictures that were still missing. This is around February of 2016. So I got with our chapter leaders and I said, hey, let's spearhead an effort to find these soldiers' pictures. We can go out to the other 32 chapters, the Vietnam veteran chapters in Florida, and engage all these guys to help find the pictures. So we have what's called a Florida State Council, which is a meeting where all the chapters in Florida get together. And I do this on a quarterly basis. So we went down there and proposed the idea to them, and they were all in favor of it. So that got the ball rolling. We broke the state down into counties. We said, because we're trying to figure out how we could break this down to find all these soldiers. So we said we had 10 critical counties. We figured if we could get 10 critical counties complete, that would be about 80% of the pictures that we needed. So we went out to the different chapters, VVA chapters in these counties, and we said, hey, let's help find these pictures. So again, we started there in search of pictures. I put a team together here of our chapter members. One of my key members was Johnny Byard, who was a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel aviator, and we've been working very closely and from the starting point, and we've added additional members to our team. You're asking, how do you find these pictures? Well, you look at it this way, a lot of these guys were killed at a very young age.
That's correct. And they didn't come home to get married and have kids, so they were mostly all single. And the parents, are now, who knows how old they are, if they're still alive.
If they're still alive, yeah. And some of these guys didn't even graduate from high school. They left early. So when we began the search, we went first looking in newspapers through, newspapers.com was a website. And we'd look for obituaries with pictures in. And also from the obituaries, we could also find clues to where they lived. And then we could maybe go back and look for high school graduation book photos. So that was another source. And then the other thing we could do, we sent in requests to the St. Louis Military Records Office. And you have to fill out a form, you submit it, and about a month and a half or 2 months later, you get information about the soldier. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we got pictures. I'd like to say maybe 20 to 30% of the time we got pictures. Sometimes we didn't get anything at all, but other times we would get information on their military records. The information they would give us was in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. From there, we could find out where these guys took basic training. Everyone that took basic training was probably in a basic training graduation book. So this was another source of pictures. And we thought this would be a great source, but it became a little bit of a problem. They only printed enough copies of these graduation books for the soldiers that ordered them.
Yeah.
And a lot of those studios that created those books they're gone by the wayside. They're out of business. We found out even people that did get the books either lost them or misplaced them over the years. So for example, right now we have about 15 or so soldiers that we know took basic training in Fort Benning and also Fort Jackson. And we're trying to find basic training manuals or graduation books from those areas. And believe it or not, I took basic training at Fort Benning, mm-hmm. and I spoke with the Fort Benning libraries on post and also the public library, and they were unable to provide the graduation books. But as far as our other searches go, we got a lot of help from public libraries, historic societies, and genealogical groups around the state. And it was really heartwarming when you call people up and tell them what you're doing. And there was just a lot of patriotism you could feel. These people would be willing
to... Absolutely, yeah. And you gave me a list of the Florida people right. that we're still trying to find. And then you also gave me this diagram which shows the states that they found all their people, the darkened
Correct.
Ones, the
green ones. The ones in green are the ones, 21 states have found all their fallen. And when you look at it, there are, again, 58,200 and some names on the memorial wall. Right now, they're only missing about 2,800 pictures, which is remarkable to be able to find all those pictures.
And this is what's great about being on Lakefront TV right now, because, we are like, Florida's like the retirement capital of the world. So a lot of these people came from these states that moved down here that maybe they can connect with you.
Right.
And connect with the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund and help get the pictures. That's why one of the reasons we're doing this. We really want to help you guys get this done.
And we appreciate the help.
And I got to tell you, I did an episode up in Eustis High School, and the kids from Eustis High School filmed it, and a lot of the students were in the class as we talked. And when I say we, it was myself and 5 other Vietnam veterans. Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. We were all there. And this was when the traveling wall came into Eustis. And we talked about what we see when we see that wall. We see a name, we see a face. And it's hard for them kids to relate, But what you're doing and what the VVA is doing is fantastic, because if they build this facility, and tell me a little bit about the facility, they'll be able to connect better, you know?
Right. Again, the Wall of Faces is a project. Right now, you can go on the internet and go to the Wall of Faces site. And again, it's www.vvmf.org/wall-of-faces. And you can look up each soldier. You can do a search by a certain criteria. There's an advanced search area where you can search by city, state, county, and military branch. There's a lot of different advanced search criteria, so you can go online and find this information. But the Vietnam Memorial Fund had another idea, not just to have these pictures on the internet, but they planned to build a future education center in Washington, D.C., between the Vietnam Memorial Wall and the Lincoln Memorial. And they'll be displaying these pictures in this education center. There's going to be a 2-story area with a 50-foot high screen, and they'll have all these pictures displayed, so you'll be able to see the pictures of these soldiers and learn about their stories. And there's more than just a name on the wall. And I can say, somebody asked if I had lost any soldiers or friends when I was in Vietnam. Again, I was in a maintenance company. We did have some people that were injured that were medevac, but no one in my company died. Mm-hmm. However, since we started this search, again, 778 soldiers, we spent about 10 hours of research per soldier minimum to find these pictures. So these guys,
I applaud you.
These guys have become our adopted war brothers. Mm-hmm. And when we've learned the stories, it's heart-wrenching, some of the stories that we've found about these soldiers. I know that one of the first guys we started looking for was a warrant officer. His name was William Hicks from Lee County. Mm-hmm. We learned that he was, on a medevac flight, and they were flying at night. They were going into a hot fire zone, trying to rescue. I believe there was about 8 injured guys on the ground, and they made several attempts to make landing under fire to recover these guys, and they were hit by an RPG, and everyone on the helicopter died. So,
but John, when you went to high school, though, I'm sure there's classmates that you knew. I mean, I think there's like 13 of my classmates that are on the wall.
Interesting story.
Interesting story.
After looking at Florida, I was, being from Pennsylvania, I said, well, let me see how many people from Pennsylvania, from around my 4-state area, or pictures were missing. So I looked. I found 8 from my home county, Cambria County, Pennsylvania. So I went out. I got in touch with my public library. I explained the situation. They were able to go into the newspapers and find obituary pictures. So we got pictures that way. One of the hard ones that I was having difficulty finding, there was one soldier from Blair County, and he was a senior soldier. We found out he graduated from high school about 1938. So, and I got in touch with some genealogical groups it was actually Somerset County was where I was able to check some information out. They listed him as Blair County, but he was originally from Somerset County. And with the help of the genealogy group there, they went into their archives, found out there was no high school yearbook for this guy, but there was a class picture that they had in the newspaper. And under the picture, they had the names like row 1, and then the names in row 1, and same row 2 and 3 and 4. So we were able to identify him. Mm. And then what I could do is I took the picture that they provided, and I cropped out his picture from that group picture and submitted both the group picture and his individual picture. So we're not just helping Florida, we're helping all states.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. 'Cause we are on this will be on YouTube. You know, it'll air here for locally, and we're on about a third of the state here. We're in like 26,000 homes. You know, through Prism, but we're also on Comcast, Roku. We're on Spectrum. So we reach a lot of people in Florida, and a lot of these people from Florida are from these other states. So maybe when they see this show, they go to that website, and maybe they can help you out and help out the cause and get these on there. But you gave me a couple of clippings that we want to talk a little bit about this gentleman here, Kenneth Brown.
Yeah, Keith Brown. He was from I guess Lee County, I believe. When it was again another heart-wrenching story when we read about this, when we found the newspaper clipping about him, that apparently about a week or two before he was killed, he was working near the water, and the Vietnamese family didn't notice that their infant fell in the water, and he rescued the child and gave resuscitation to it and brought it back to life. So in a war zone where you think there's all this killing and hatred going on, here's somebody that saved the child's life, and just a few weeks before he died.
There's a lot of good stories of things that come, that happen, but you don't, unfortunately, that doesn't sell papers,
Yeah.
Usually. But this one here, this page here you gave me is really interesting because, well, tell the story.
Yeah, I believe his name is Johnny Washington, I believe. Or Johnny Grant. There's so many names.
Yeah, Grant.
Johnny Grant, yes. We couldn't find a picture of him, but again, we were able to get in touch with a relative, a cousin, and they said, we don't have a picture, but one of the family members did a color pencil sketch of him and other relatives. So we were able to get that picture, which it's really, if you take a look at that picture, it's very artistic. Somebody put a lot of time and energy, and they were very skilled.
Beautiful picture, and at least he'll get the proper respect. When we talk about the Vietnam Wall and everything, the youngest one was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And there's 8 nurses, and there's 8 chaplains on there, among all those people. This is a monumental task that you guys are doing, and I applaud you. Sometimes there by the grace of God go I. Well, I was supposed to be on a plane to go home, and it crashed in Wake Island, and we lost like 11 guys. So, I think about those guys, and the fact that I got bumped off the plane for a medical emergency. You never know. But I think this is a super project. We only have a couple minutes left, but to donate, you can donate. Tell them how they can donate, and if you want to give out any information, if somebody wants to contact you or to contact the chapter.
Sure. Again, they've put a web page out there where people can make donations with credit cards. It's again www.vvmf.org/VVA-FL, and there's a place where you can put your name. If you have a VVA chapter, you can put your chapter number in there, but it's a free format field. So if you're, say, the AMVETS or the Purple Heart Group, you can put in that information in that free format field. The VVMF is a tax-exempt organization, and they will send you, a reply once you make a donation, so that if you need that for tax purposes. Again, we're keeping track of this. We put together what we call our $1 million campaign. We said we'd like to try to get Vietnam veterans in Florida to help us collect $1 million to help build the education center. They need many millions of dollars to complete the job, but this is one step to help them get this project complete. And again, we don't get the money here in Florida. It goes directly to the VVMF and they keep track of it, and they'll send us periodic reports on how we're progressing toward that goal. somebody said, hey, $1 million is a lot of money. But I said, well, look at it this way. There were 1,957 Florida soldiers that died in Vietnam. That's about $511 per soldier, a small amount for a life sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess another person says, well, you know, $1 million, how'd you come up with that? And I said, well, what Yogi Berra said, you know, if you don't know where you're going, you might not get there. So,
he said a lot of things.
but anyway, so again, we're starting this here in our chapter 1036 here in the Villages. My email address, I guess you can put that online.
It's up to you if you'd like it. You just
Sure,
tell us what it is, and it'll magically appear.
Again, it's john.tomstatter@vva1036.org. If anybody wants additional information, they can email me, or if they have pictures, if they have a picture of a soldier that died in Vietnam whose name's on the wall, they can send that to me in JPEG format, and I will get it posted. We can post more than one picture per soldier. They can also go online and post it themselves. Again, this is one of our projects of our Chapter 1036. We do a lot of charitable work within the community.
Absolutely. I you know, like I said, I'm not a really active member because I'm all over the place. But the chapter is great. I know some of the stuff that you guys have done in the past and are keep doing. And maybe someday we'll get another guest on here and talk a little bit more about the chapter. But I wanted to get this out today because this is special. This really is special. And I applaud you for what you're doing.
And we appreciate your help in getting the word out.
Well, that's what Lakefront TV is all about. We're here to educate and preserve the memories of our fallen brothers and sisters. So anyway, I'm running out of time. Any final thought you'd like to say, or?
I just would like to remind everybody this is a project that we're carrying out throughout the country. So any help that we can provide, not just to Florida, but for other states. Yeah,
and go onto the website. If you're from Wyoming or Colorado or something, go on there, look at the names. Maybe it'll ring a bell with you. And you could help get that person's picture in the. When's this going to be built? Do you get any idea?
They don't have a time frame, but the land has already been allocated. The design is complete, and it's just a matter of getting the funds together. I was talking to some people. I believe they are working on getting some permits for the groundbreaking, but I don't know the exact date. I don't think they've made a decision on when they can get this built. Well, I thank you, John, for coming on the show. And as they say here in Florida, let's get her done. Sounds good. All right. So join me in saying goodbye. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.